Okay, so we're talking about surface area, pyramids of cylinders, spheres, and cones in section 3.2. So we're going to talk about the different types of shapes here and what the surface area formulas look like and how to find that. So take a look at this first example here, working with circles. Okay, so when we're talking about circles, do you guys see a circle in here anywhere in this example 1? Or any part of a circle there? So, yeah, so the ends are kind of rounded, right? So, you know, if we're trying to find the surface area of this, just like in some of the other questions, we split it up into different parts and found each part and added them all together. Well, if you check this out, from right about here, straight down, it's not a very good straight line, but straight down there, and then from right about here straight down, you see we have a half a circle here and a half a circle there. It's kind of like a hockey rink, isn't it? But what we have is we have a rectangle here in the middle, and then we have really a half a circle here and another identical half over here. So we have a rectangle and a circle, really. You see that? So if we're talking about the surface area of this thing right here, let's say area 1 is the rectangle. So area 1 would be the length, 112.6, times the height there, or the width, which would be, what's 58.4? All right. And you have that down here in the solution, so here's the actual answer there for that one. And here's the other thing with the circles. Now, the formula for the area of a circle, do you remember that? So area 2 is going to be, you know, the blue part there. And because there's two identical halves of a circle, we're just going to treat it as one big circle, right? That's area 2. And so what's the formula for the area of a circle? It has to do with that pi. What is it, pi? Yeah, it's actually down here in your worksheet there, isn't it? Pi r squared. Do you remember that? Okay, so the area of a circle is pi r squared. It's really important. So what is the radius? The r is the radius, and it is halfway across, you know, the center, right? And so if this is 58.4, the radius is going to be half of that. Half of 58.4, which is 29.2. So we have pi times 29.2 squared. And that's going to be the area of this circle right here. So that's going to work out to be 2678.65. The units is centimeters. We're talking about area, so it's squared. And then this one was 657.84. And so then to find the total area, you simply add up this and this to get the total. The solution is below there, and the point is that you can take an object and you can find rectangles, triangles, circles, maybe trapezoids, different things like that, and you can split it up into sections and then just find each piece, add them together. Okay? Any questions about this first example? All right. So if you did half a circle and then another half a circle and added those two together separately, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. You might not see right away that you can just treat that as one circle. You might say, oh, I got to do half a circle here and then another half a circle over here and add them together, and that's fine too. All right. Okay, so let's get some practice here and start from scratch. So in this first question, build your skills, 3.2. Do you see how this is very similar to the one we just did? So we're going to split this up into, looks like a rectangle and a half a circle. So I want to split up into two areas, area 1 and area 2, and then we'll solve each of them individually. So what's the formula for area of a rectangle? Well, that's length times width, right? And so the length, it doesn't matter which one's the length. Usually the longer one is the length, but it doesn't really matter. So 3.5 times 3.25. Does everyone see that? 3.25. So what do we get when we multiply those together?
11.37.
11.37. Okay, anybody else get that?
Wouldn't you, like it would be 375, wouldn't you round it off?
Well, you didn't mention the 5, so yeah,
Oh,
that,
I
that,
mentioned
that,
the 5.
okay, so
Yeah.
11.375. So 11.375, why don't we, is that where it ends now?
Yes.
375, okay. So we can just go to 2 decimal places if we're unsure. So if we're gonna round that, we should round that to 38. Okay.
I was getting to that.
Oh, you were getting to that point, okay. So that is confirmed, that number, right? Did someone else get that? Yes? Okay, so 11.38 square feet. Remember, this is feet. All right, so area 2 is the circle here. Now, area 2 is, that's a circle, but it looks like it's a half a circle. Do you see that? So we need to go 1/2 of pi r squared. Now, what is the radius? Oh, the radius isn't quite, no, the radius isn't 3.5. The diameter is 3.5. So we'll go 1/2 pi times, and what did you say it was? 1.75 squared. Okay. Now, this is important that you get this right on your calculator, okay? So when we do the calculator part, let's do this together. So 1/2, that's the same as 0.5. So you can write a decimal there. I would tend to put the brackets in there and make sure that you have everything in there just right. So 1.75 squared. So we want to square this radius. And then close off the 2 brackets there. So it's 0.5 times pi r squared. Okay. So I get 4.81. Does that look okay with you guys? 4.81? Okay, so 4.81 feet squared. And now the total, area total, is area 1 plus area 2, isn't it? So area total down here would be 11.38 plus 4.81. And that's going to be in feet squared, of course. So what do we get when we add those up?
You have 16.19.
So yeah, 16.19 sounds great. 16.19. Please remember to have your units. You won't get full marks if you leave the units out. So I want to make sure we clean that up. Okay. So that looks good to me. I think if we've done all our calculations correctly, does everyone agree with that? Is everyone okay with that? Do you understand why we did that? Oops. I'll leave that there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on this one on your own. I'll get you started though. This is a really funny looking one, isn't it? So how would I split this one up? What do you see here? Yes.
Make a triangle.
You can make a triangle? Okay, you can make a triangle here. Okay, is that enough? Should we do something else?
Make a triangle.
Oh, you can make a bigger triangle. Well, you could make 2 triangles probably. Now here's the thing, because if you treat this as one triangle, you might get into a little bit of trouble because you don't know the base or the height. What you do know though is this base, and I think you could figure out this height right here. So I'm going to let you work on this and see what you can do. But yes, this is what you want to do. Split it up that way first. So go ahead and try and figure out. We're going to have 2 triangles. They're identical, but we're going to have area 1, area 2, and then this half a circle there will be area 3. Okay? Go ahead and take a few minutes on that. All right, so here is that good? So here's the work for number 2. All right, so again, we said that there's 2 triangles that are identical and 1/2 of a circle. So the half of a circle is easy. The radius here would be half of the 6.8. And so that's pi r squared over 2, where the r is 3.4, and that area is this right here, 18.16 centimeters squared. The 2 triangles, we talked about this, what is this side right here? Well, it's actually, because this is a circle, this radius of 3.4 is actually the same radius if you go from the middle to that point, or the middle to this point, or the middle to any point on the circle. So that means that this is going to be 3.4 as well. So that's where you get the two lengths are both 3.4. So 1/2 base times height is the area for a triangle, and we need to do that 2 times. So 1/2 base times height, basically times 2. You should get this for a final answer, somewhere around 29.7. And we'll keep 2 decimal places usually in the question at least. If you keep more, that's even better. But okay. All right. So there's going to be one more question for you to do, but you'll have to do that kind of a little bit later in class or on your own time. So we will move to the next teaching section here, which is working with cylinders. So on page 151, you will have to come back to this number 3. But on page 151, let's talk about cylinders now. So if you think about a pop can or a paint can or something like that, that's the shape of a cylinder. We have a circle on top, a circle on the bottom, and then kind of that wraparound piece that goes, around and makes the cylinder. So this is the net for a cylinder, right? That makes sense. The 2 circles, the one on the top and the one on the bottom. And then, I don't know if you realize this, but this wraparound part, if you were to cut this on the side and spread it out, it's just a big rectangle. It's a big rectangle. The height is the one dimension, that makes sense. The other one, though, is a bit tricky. You may not maybe this is, something you didn't think of before, but this length, because it has to wrap all the way around the circle like this, it's equal to the circumference of the circle. So that's why we have a C there. Okay, it's the circumference. And that is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, that's what this C is right here. 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter, because that's what 2 times r is. So either one of those is fine, but that's how you find sort of the length of this wraparound piece. Okay, the circumference of the circle. So that's what this first part explains. And if we look at this as an example, and sorry, let me just enlarge this so we can kind of see it just a bit. So if we look at this example, find the surface area of this cylinder, all right, then, well, we know what the net looks like. We need to find the area of 2 circles, and the top and the bottom. And this is what the bottom kind of would look like if you could see kind of behind the can there. And then we need to find the wraparound part. So area 1 is pi r squared. And because there's 2 area 1s, let's just multiply that times 2. And we'll get the top and the bottom. Okay? So 2 times pi times, what's the radius? 90 millimeters. So what does that come out to? Let's see. On your calculator, you would just do this, and you could go 2 times, use your pi button. You all should be able to find that. Times 90. And should come out to something like this. Whoops, I didn't do the squared. 90 squared. And it should be 50,893. And that's going to be the area of both the top and the bottom. So 50,893. And that was what? 0.80. Millimeters squared. Remember, we're talking about area, millimeters squared. And then the wraparound part is the circumference, okay? The circumference of the circle times the height. So area 2, and it should show up here, okay? You can just look at it down here. So it's the circumference is this times the height, you see? Circumference times the height. And so what that would look like for you is 2 pi r h. 2 pi r times h. 2 times pi times 90 times 300. And when you add all that up, you should get 2 times pi times r times h should be this one, 169,000 square millimeters. And you add them both up together, and you get, should be this for your final number. Okay? That's a pretty large number, but we are talking about a large number of, they're very small units. Do you know how many centimeters 90 millimeters is, guys? Sorry? So if you have a ruler, okay, 90 millimeters, this is a ruler with millimeters here, okay? And if you go to each centimeter is 10 millimeters. So 90 millimeters is how many centimeters?
9.
Yeah, you go all the way up here to 9. 90 millimeters is 9 centimeters. Okay, so that's a lot of millimeters squared, but it's not so much, not as many centimeters squared. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4 together. All right. So one of the ways we can practice finding area of cylinders is in a question where, we have a cylindrical tank that we're trying to find the area, the amount of material for. There's a surface area of a pipe to try and find how much metal we need to make the pipe. The area of a cake like this. Look at this cake over here. Okay, if you found the surface area of the cake, you could estimate how much icing you're going to need, right? Depending on the thickness, you could figure that out. All right. So let's do number 4 together. Okay. Find the surface area of a cylindrical tank. So cylindrical is the adjective used to describe something that is a shape of a cylinder. That's cylindrical. Cylindrical tank that has a radius of 1.5 and a height of 5. Okay, so we're going to draw that. We're going to draw a circle there and draw kind of the sides there. And a rounded bottom, that's kind of how you make a cylinder there. Now the other part, the other edge of the bottom would be in the background. You can't really see it, so you might want to make dotted lines like that. That means it's kind of hidden from view. Okay, so this is a cylindrical tank, so I'm assuming we're going to need the area of the top and the bottom as well. Okay, so area 1 we can kind of do together, remember? So we could do pi r squared, the area of one circle, and they're identical, right? So we could multiply that by 2. Or you could do pi r squared plus pi r squared. Either way. Okay, so what are we given? We have a radius of 1.5. So on your diagram, it might be a really good idea to label stuff like that. 1.5 meters. So here we have 2 times pi times 1.5 squared. And with our calculator, you can pretty easily do that. 2 pi, and then I'd use my brackets there, 1.5 squared. So that looks like that. And that should give us 14.14. And that's going to be meters squared, I guess. So that's going to be the top and the bottom. We've got that taken care of. And the height is 5 meters, so guess what? Let's do this in blue. Area 2 is going to be, and again, just like I'm doing, guys, you should write down the formulas as well so you can get used to them. So you can memorize them so that you make sure you don't make a mistake. So the circumference around the top part of the circle there is 2 pi r. And then, so that would be like, in the net diagram, that's like the length. Right? 2 pi r. And then you have h. So 2 pi r and then times h. That's the area of the wraparound part. So 2 times pi times, what was that radius again? Oh yeah, 1.5. And the height was 5. And we have our calculator to help us out with this part. So 2 times pi times 1.5 times 5. So tell me if you got that. I see some of you on your calculator. Jump on your calculator there and see if you got this same number right here. Okay, so that's been confirmed. So 42.12. 42.12, and that would be meters squared as well. So area total then, what color should we do that one in? Different blue. Area total is going to be 14.14. That's the top and the bottom, plus 42.12, and that should give us what? Let's see. Oh, 47.12. My bad. 47. Can't read my own writing there. And now here's a nice thing. See, if you got this on your calculator ready, you don't have to retype it. Just put the other one in. Just put plus, and it'll automatically kick in the old answer there. And then now you've got this rounded to 2 decimal places, and you're good. 61.26. 26. And that's going to be meters squared. Don't forget your units.
You always want it in 2 decimal places?
Yeah, unless the question says 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places is always safe. That's very safe. Okay? Okay. So, do you guys have any questions about that? Any questions about what we just did there? Okay. Let's see here.